Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the kick-off meeting for the International Fire Prevention Day, 8th of October. And my name is Gary Strong. I'm the chair of the International Fire Safety Standards Coalition, which was launched in July 2018 at the UN in Geneva, and is now representing well over 100 bodies around the world. And we have many bodies from Latin America. We have very eminent people with us here in the room that we're going to be listening to in a minute. And we have some eminent speakers who are joining us remotely as well. So thank you to everybody for joining us. The reason why we are here because of fire safety being such an important topic now. Just recently, we had the Grenfell Tower Inquiry final report, phase 2 report, which was published on the 4th of September. For those of you not familiar with it, it was an extensive public inquiry which lasted over 7 years, with many recommendations which the UK government are now taking a few months to absorb and come back with a public response to. And for those of us working in the UK, we've been working quite extensively on the public inquiry and with government and the devolved nations of the UK and with other nations around the world who've been taking a very active interest in the Grenfell Tower report. It's amazing how it's reached out to all four corners of the globe, and the photograph you see up on the screen now is me giving an update to the United Nations, which I do every year, on fire safety and how important this topic is. So now is a real opportune time for all of us to be able to move fire safety forward by collaboration with the many experts which we have assembled around the coalition, who are contributing to the expert working groups, and also to raise awareness of fire safety in the eyes of the public as well, which includes obviously training and many other aspects to fire safety. So we do have an update around the United Nations, who've been supporting us ever since 2018, is that they have said to us at this point in time next year, the 8th of October next year, we're hoping to be able to visit the United Nations in Geneva, the Palais des Nations, and have an event to celebrate the International Fire Prevention Day. So I hope that as many of you as possible will be able to register and attend that event. Mark it in your diary. It's going to be the week of the 4th to the 10th of October. Have I got that right? 6th to the 10th, sorry. 6th to the 10th of October. So for those of you who wish to support us in Geneva next year, please do put that in your diary, and we'll be sending out more communications about that as the planning gets underway. We will have the opportunity to present to what's called the Forum of Mayors, which is the mayors from all the countries of the UN, 195 countries who will be attending, and also a high-level ministerial meeting, which is on the Wednesday, the 8th of October, where we will have a side event opportunity at lunchtime. So we will be providing lunch to hopefully entice them and come and listen to us talk about fire safety. So there's probably the biggest opportunity, I would say, that we've had present to us for many years, actually, in this whole sector. So that'll be a fantastic opportunity for us to get in front of all the ambassadors and the country representatives that attend the UN on behalf of their nations, but also the city mayors, who obviously they are authorities having jurisdiction in themselves sometimes, and obviously the ministers, the high-level ministerial meeting for the country ministers as well. So that's in the planning right now. We hope that's going to take place. We're fairly confident it's going to take place, so just mark that in your diary, and that will be a great, wonderful way to launch this initiative. Right, so enough from me. I'm going to hand over now to Chris. It is Chris now next, isn't it? From
Yes.
Chris Janich from SFPE, who's their Chief Executive Officer, that many of you will know well. So I'm going to hand over to Chris now. Over to you, Chris.
Okay, Gary, thank you very much. It's great to be here. Online, Sorry I can't be with you, but I'm at the SFP annual conference in Louisville, Kentucky, where we have about 500 fire protection engineers talking about some of the issues I'm even going to be talking about today. but I could say that SFP is delighted to be a part of this historic event. And as you can see on my slide, you know, to SFP, some of the biggest challenges and opportunities facing the fire engineering community, which, you know, probably impacts everybody related to fire safety. I listed here, and number one is having a competent workforce that meets the demands for the design and construction industry. And Gary alluded to the Grenfell Phase 2 report. There's a very important recommendation there related to fire engineers and having a competent fire protection engineering workforce, and then at the same time having enough good competent fire protection engineers who could do all to work on the projects that are needed. The second issue is there's a lot of emerging technical trends in the construction industry that are resulting in materials that are really designed to facilitate sustainability in the build environment. And some of them include mass timber. Of course, we're trying to make a lot taller and taller buildings with mass timber, lithium-ion batteries and energy storage. It seems like every day there's not a different story of some kind of incident involves around lithium-ion batteries. Of course, another important part about the Grenfell inquiry is the design of the building envelope or the cladding on a building. And then the growth of transportation, we're seeing more fires in things like trains, railways, shipping, and like that. The next big issue, on our list is the increased wildland urban interface fires. Another is cybersecurity and fire protection systems, and finally, increasing role of digitalization, our BIM, and artificial intelligence in our industry. You could go to the next slide, please. So a little bit about SFP for those who don't know us. Our mission is to define, develop, and advance the use of engineering best practices, expand the scientific and technological base, and educate the global fire safety community. We have over 5,300 members throughout the world, 96 local chapters that are in communities around the world that promote fire protection engineering, and an additional 28 student chapters in our colleges and universities. And in total, we have members in 72 countries. You could go to the next slide, please. And to combat some of these issues, SFP does have a lot of free web resources that can be found at www.sfpe.org. One important document is our minimum technical core competency document, which defines the competencies needed or the knowledge, skills, and abilities available for fire protection engineers. We have a free guide to careers in fire protection engineers to get the word out to college students, high school students, anybody who could be a fire protection engineer, that really tells them about this exciting career. Revolving around WUI, we have a free WUI virtual handbook for property fire risk assessment and mitigation that can also be found at our website, that provides a lot of good information for the fire service when they're planning a fire risk assessment for their communities and how to mitigate WUI fires. And finally, SFP as a foundation, we have a Grand Challenges initiative. We currently have 4 free white papers out there. With each one of these white papers have 10-year plans on how to look at the climate change issue and fire protection, energy and infrastructure, resilience and sustainability, and then finally digitalization, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. So I hope everybody take a look at some of these free resources, or if you have any more information, you could contact me at chris@sfpe.org. But thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks very much, Chris. Really insightful. Thanks very much for joining us. And I know you've got a busy day.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got to go leave and get back to our conference. But thank you very much for this time.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Cheers. Okay, so I'm going to introduce our next speaker now, Alan Brinson.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, good evening. I'm just sharing my screen now. Very briefly, I'm Alan Brinson, Executive Director of the European Fire Sprinkler Network, which, as the name suggests, exists to promote and expand the application of sprinklers across Europe. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing in Europe. We've been running for 21 years now. But first of all, those who don't know Europe, here's a map of Europe. And why isn't it expanding? Sorry, something. There we are. Yes, so Europe is not a country. This is often forgotten in other parts of the world. It's 27 countries just in the EU. There's almost as many countries not in the EU, but just in those 27, we have 24 languages. And fire safety is regulated at a national or subnational level. So people have often asked me, why don't you go to Brussels and sort it out? They don't have jurisdiction over fire safety. This is something done in each of the countries. And indeed, in some of them, they delegate it within the country. So Germany has 16 states, and each of those is its own jurisdiction with its own code. They may be similar, but they're not the same. And there are other examples like that. There is not a great deal of cross-border learning. So in principle, in those 27 countries, you might have a national regulator in each one. They don't know each other. They maybe can't speak each other's languages. So we have very little cross-border learning. And then politicians as well are not interested in fire safety. I've had them say to my face, it's not sexy. It's not why they've gone into politics. We had in my country, in the UK, we once had a fire minister who was fire minister for less than 24 hours. He did not want to be fire minister. So as a result of that, very little is spent on fire safety research. And what is spent is fragmented through all those countries you can see on the screen. Perhaps if you put it in one pot, there would be enough to do things properly. But the way it's done means that we don't in Europe have a fire test laboratory of anything like the same scale as UL or FM in the States. So they're really rather small and cannot do some of the tests that we would like to do. And some countries, believe it or not, and some, I won't name them, but some of those larger countries you can see on that screen don't even know how many people die in fires each year. They can't tell you if 2023 was better or worse than 2022. That's the level of data that we have. It's not like that everywhere. Some countries do have good statistics, but a lot of them do not. Another thing, as a result of all of this, not much research, not a political interest, codes don't get updated very often. So the current Spanish code dates from 2006. One of the most important ones in France dates from 1980. So that's how often these things get updated. I mean, it very rarely tends to be disaster driven. In fact, in my country, we've had a number of regulatory changes since Grenfell, but some of them we've been pushing for years and weren't going anywhere. It took a disaster, and we didn't see the same changes in other countries. However, as has been said by Chris and others, we share the same fire safety concerns. We have aging populations in Europe, people living at home when perhaps in the past they would have been in an institution, but that's expensive. So governments prefer to have them live at home, and that means they may be struggling to deal with all the fire safety issues that can arise at home. We have issues with environmental innovations. So lots of the changes we see in our building designs and in our society in general are there to try and improve our environmental footprints, reduce our environmental footprints, but they bring with them fire safety risks. So a couple of weeks ago, I saw a senior guy from the Paris Fire Brigade saying he was concerned about people having e-bikes on their balconies, which are made of wood. You've got a source of ignition, you've got something that can burn. Wooden buildings in general. This is a picture of a very large new office campus west of Paris, all made of wood. Combustible insulation, that was a large part of what was going wrong at Grenfell. We've heard plenty about that. And then photovoltaic cells. I mean, not only are they going on roofs, but people are trying to put them on walls now. And I don't know if you've seen it, but FM has done some testing, which shows that even with non-combustible insulation on the wall, you have enough fire load in the plastic of the PV panel to sustain combustion. And the narrow gap of chimney to be formed. Frankly, we don't really, as far as I know, have a solution yet to deal with this, but it's what's happening. So these, some of the concerns are out there. I've been told you already my interest is sprinklers, and sprinklers can help with all of this. That's not the only thing to do, but they can actually have an impact in all of these. Now, just this slide shows just some statistics from NFPA. I've chosen NFPA because, frankly, we don't have this level of detail in any country in Europe. We do have some statistics, so we know in Europe that where we have data that same principles apply as in the US, that most people die from fire at home. We know that. We also know that the chances of being killed by a fire are 3 times higher for the elderly than for the rest of the population. And we do actually have some indication, at least from my country, the UK, that with sprinklers you can reduce the level of injuries in fire. We just don't have enough data points to talk about death rates. But this is what you see in the US. If you put in a smoke alarm, put in smoke alarms, you can halve the death rate. And frankly, anyone that says we can't afford this is, it's just, for me, not realistic to say that. These things cost about the same as a few cups of coffee. If you then put in sprinklers, you can reduce the death rate by another 80%. So you can get down to 90% of the death rate today by these 2 measures themselves. So this is something that we think policymakers should be more aware of. As I said, for them, this is not a sexy subject, but this is fairly easy to understand. If you have an alarm that tells you there's a fire and you're able to do something about that, that can help you. And if you're not able to do anything about it, then the sprinklers can help you too. So it isn't all doom and gloom. We have made some progress. We've had national campaigns in many countries in Europe for smoke detectors. And this isn't the best picture of a smoke detector, but it is royalty free because it's my smoke detector in my house, one of 2. And most new housing in Europe has smoke alarms, not all existing housing. And then we've seen, since I've been doing this job now for just over 20 years, that the numbers of sprinklers installed in Europe have more than doubled in that time. And we now find in Northern Europe that we see them quite commonly in new apartments and also in care homes. However, that is not the case yet in somewhere like Italy. So we still have a long way to go, but we're moving from the north south, making improvements there. And how do we achieve that? Well, it's collaboration, as Carlos is about to explain to you. You have to work with everybody. I mean, once the information is there, it's not too tricky to understand, but you have to get it out there. There's a lot of misapprehensions about all of these technologies. That they are difficult, they cost too much, and they cause problems. They're wrong. This is not the case. But you have to get the information out there. We work together with fire officers in several countries. We have training programs for them, with researchers who make the academic case for change and look into these issues. Insurers have an interest in this as well, consultants too, and of course the officials in the end. So we work with all of those. You spread information. And you do move consensus from you've got to be joking to this is the right thing to do. And so that's how we've achieved that. It's a slow process. It can take a very long time, but then sometimes you get a big day and a big change and you move forward. So I will finish there and I think pass you now over to Carlos.
Thank you very much. We have an excellent example here from all the organizations involved in this meeting, which we're very happy to be in such a magnificent place by Big Ben and all the wonderful London attractions right here next to Gary's office. Your example can really guide the rest of the world industry efforts in integrating and potentially expediting our progress in our objectives. We must consider that there are 196 countries and 7,139 languages spoken worldwide. The challenge of global integration becomes very complex. We can only achieve this working together through our own common purpose. Purpose is the fundamental reason for every organization existence. It's the ultimate reason for being. And we all share the same common purpose. And what a noble purpose it is, to make the world a safer place from the risk of fires through prevention. Our organizations exist to safeguard lives, buildings, and business continuity by preventing fire risk using the highest quality, certified, and innovative products supported by the most professional teams. As we pursue this mission, we also provide limitless opportunities for our personal and professional growth. As you've seen from Chris, there is a lot of need for fire protection engineers in the US and in general. If you have designers, please, we need it. And it's throughout the world. So by doing good, we create good for the world and also for ourselves. Latam PCI is young. We were legally formed in 2020. But with this shared vision and mission, we've grown to include 25 organizations across 15 countries. We are the umbrella for 700 specialized companies representing 60% of the fire safety market in the region. Our clear focus is on transforming fire protection across Latin America. When analyzing the hard data, the big numbers, we find that only 1% of the total sprinklers installed worldwide each year are installed in Latin America. However, we represent 8% of the world population and 8% of the global GDP. A big disparity. Serious problem exists. But at the same time, it's a great opportunity for growth. If we equalize it, we can grow 8 times. So we all have the same problems, and we need all to do something to make things happen. Here at Latam PCL and all our organizations, we aim to raise awareness at all levels about the severe consequences of fires and the necessity for regulation. People may be aware of the risk, but progress will be limited unless legal mandate makes fire protection systems a requirement, as we all know in the industry. It is crucial that we advocate for stronger regulations to ensure safety across the world. International Fire Prevention Day, within our industry, we know what's going on. We understand that fires claim more lives and cause greater economic damage each year than hurricanes or earthquakes. Unlike these natural disasters, fires are largely preventable with simple proactive measures. However, by human nature, we tend not to base our judgment on hard facts, but rather on what is easy to remember, such as earthquakes and hurricanes, which are catastrophic events that capture shocking headlines and create a perception of imminent danger. The same way as terrorism, fires, on the other hand, often happen as isolated incidents that occur daily but fail to catch our attention. Very few make front page news. As a result, they don't generate the same perception of urgency and need for action. When fires occur, they tend to affect relatively small local communities, leading to the widespread belief that it will never happen to me. But the reality is that a fire can and will happen, whether in your home, workplace, or community. It doesn't happen until it happens to you, and for sure it will happen. The destruction caused by fires represent 1% of the world's GDP minimum annually in material and economic losses. As a sector, we have not been successful, in some countries yes, but in others not, at least not in Latin America, in communicating the gravity of this issue to the public or authorities. We need to elevate the importance of this severe problem, raising awareness to drive change in regulation and practices. Our organization supports, or your organization supports, is vital to create the needed awareness. We need your commitment and support. We need to make a much more noise than what we're doing now. And those who drive rapid and profound changes, such as those we've seen for obvious reasons. No earthquakes, 1985. Big earthquake in Mexico. The regulation changed 1987, 2 years later. And more people died from fires in Mexico than from that earthquake. But we haven't been able to provide that knowledge to the authorities and to the public. And where energy savings, electrical sustainability, green buildings, they achieved a very good work. We don't need to invent the wheel. We just need to copy what they are doing right and adapt it to what we need to do in fire protection. As a fire protection sector, it is our responsibility, our mission to create the necessary awareness, not just at events like this, but throughout continuous engagement with all relevant stakeholders, insurance companies, chambers of commerce, government, fire service, academy, and the general public. Only by integrating all these stakeholders can we implement the regulatory changes needed to make fire protection a priority. Aligning the interest of the different sectors behind our common purpose will drive progress. We must engage with politicians and collaborate closely with them because our goal is to shape public policy. However, public policy is not created by politicians alone. It is built by society through the active participation of organizations like ours. Politicians may sign the policies, but it is the people, the professionals, and the companies who practice, implement, and ensure that these policies are carried out. True public policy is made when business, citizens, and organizations take responsibility and ensure that things work in practice. This is where we must take the lead. We, as business leaders and as engaged citizens, are the ones who can fully drive change. Many examples exist in the world and show how progress happens when society acts, not just when laws are and regulations are passed. Compliance only occurs when organized societies take responsibility for ensuring those laws are enforced. This is the essence of the social construction of risk. We create a risk of tomorrow when we fail to engage in shaping the policies that matter to us today. But when we actively participate in the creation of public policy, we became allies to the political process, ensuring that these policies are properly implemented. We must work together not only to adopt the best standards and bring in the best human and technical resources, but also to raise awareness among professionals and the general public. Only by doing so, we can ensure that these policies are followed and become effective tools for fire prevention and safety. Our role is critical, not just in settings. So that's the way we will make change happen. So what's the next actions? There is no room for passivity when something is wrong. And we know something is wrong here. The only thing is action. We need to act. On October 2025, we will celebrate International Fire Prevention Day, a time to remind ourselves of the critical importance of fire preparedness and prevention. Today, as we launch the kickoff meeting with participation from around the world, primarily within our sector, we recognize our opportunity over the next year. It's only 365 days from here to the 8th of October, which will be on Wednesday. This is our time to strategize, plan, budget, organize, and execute a comprehensive global outreach campaign to raise awareness and underscore the significance of the International Fire Prevention Day. We need our commitment, or your commitment, to collaborate in creating and disseminating targeted awareness campaigns. These campaigns should span all media, newspaper, magazine, social media channels, and be tailored for each of our respective markets. Each one is different, as we all know. Our aim is to amplify the message of fire prevention and safety, reaching diverse demographics and enhancing global participation. The inaugural event, as we know from Gary, will be in the United Nations in Geneva, where we will invite not only fire protection associations, but we will want leading global NGOs, non-profit organizations, key customers with global engagement. To truly make an impact, we must generate a significant amount of attention and create worldwide awareness. We need to organize major events across all continents, and your help is crucial to making this happen. Let's unite and ensure that this vital cause resonates with the world. As we mark World Fire Prevention Day, we must unite with organizations across the first, second, and third sectors. We must obtain together the collaboration with world institutions like we are doing right now with the United Nations, but also with other NGOs as Save the Children, Common Voices, the Gates Foundation, and especially seek influencers and advocates who have experienced the devastating impacts of fires. And we need to work all together to find these advocates and influencers. By sharing best practices and standards, we can strengthen our global collaboration, uniting efforts to promote fire prevention and protection. If we can align globally, we will achieve our goals more effectively and swiftly. There is much work to do until we meet in Geneva next year. These are some examples, some basic examples of different things that we need to do, basically for the vulnerable groups, for the forest management, for urban fire prevention, for community responsibility and collection. But I have a dream. The day we succeed in uniting the world, as we see with Breast Cancer Awareness Day, when buildings across the globe light up in pink, will be the day we have made significant progress toward our purpose. Once we see landmarks like the Parliament illuminated in orange, the color we have chosen for fire prevention, it will be symbol that global recognition of the importance of this cause. Achieving this level of visibility will mark the decisive step forward in raising awareness and promoting fire safety worldwide. We have here some examples of what we have done in Mexico. This is a public education program. A simple example, we've never done it. First time we do it in this form, but we started with a plan, and we're right now. We have a whole team. We start with educating the children. If we have the children educated, asking for the parents, why don't we have an extinguisher? Why don't we have a detector at home? It costs less than going out for a meal on a Sunday, and this will save our lives. that's when we need to start with the children. And we are working very close with the Maffer Foundation in this aspect. And we do it throughout the year within the different organizations that we cover. But we also have a very strong team with the different key players that will help us bring about a change in regulation and awareness throughout Mexico. All the big guys that are involved, the chambers of commerce, the industrials, all the different foundations, the firefighters, we have them all together, and we're working with them throughout the year. And then we do a fire prevention congress. We did it this August 27 and 28. And according to the manufacturers, that's what they say. I know. It's number one is NFPA, number two is Dubai, number three is Mexico now. And it's relatively new, but we're creating that awareness, and we're bringing the whole Latin American together. And then obviously we're doing all these fire prevention celebration on the 8th of October with Concise. We have Mexico celebrates the 8th of October as the Fire Prevention Day. That's when we had a big fire in children's nursing home. And we celebrated with a whole week. We don't need to invent the wheel. We're proposing this. I'm pretty sure that many other countries have other options, but this is a good option that we can do. This is the material that we're doing. We publish thousands of these booklets with the help of Maffer Foundation, distributed in all the different states in Mexico. And we also a book for the teachers so that they can teach them. And we work with the firefighters. So we're creating this consciousness. And obviously we're doing a lot of symbolisms, like you see, I have here the symbol of fire prevention. And we are going to propose this budget and recognitions like this physical coin that I gave to Gary, that and this symbol, this logo, that represents a family protecting against the flames of fire. And we have an orange ribbon that we use during the whole week in all of our organizations. And obviously we would like this is an option, it's a proposal, but I'm asking for, here we have the industry, the world represented with these 4 organizations. And Gary, I would like to make a motion that we work on a strategy, a plan, and we establish options, but let's work it quickly. We did for this event 1 minute video that I would like to show. Go ahead.
On October 8th, we will celebrate International Fire Prevention Day, a time to remind ourselves of the critical importance of fire preparedness and prevention. Did you know that fires claim more lives and cause greater economic damage each year than hurricanes or earthquakes? Unlike these natural disasters, fires are largely preventable with simple, proactive measures. By taking basic steps, such as developing an emergency plan, regularly checking electrical wiring, and installing smoke detectors and sprinkler systems, you can save lives. International Fire Prevention Day serves as a crucial reminder that prevention is key. This October 8th, join us in supporting this vital cause to protect your life, your loved ones, and your business. Take action today. Visit IFSS and LATAM PCI to learn more about fire prevention and discover how you can get involved.
Yes. Thanks very much, Carlos, and thanks to Chris and to Alan as well. Just in closing now, you've obviously heard in detail now from Carlos the reasons for us all to collaborate. This is the first time globally this has ever been done before. We've never, ever tried to achieve something which has grown slowly but surely over the course of the past 6 years or so, since particularly when the coalition was launched in 2018. It is revolutionary. Others have done it in other areas like road safety, for example, and we know that they've been successful in that. So fire safety should be no exception, but it does rely on that global collaboration and willingness to succeed, which is so important. So please do get involved. I put into the chat box about, please, we need your expertise to share communications, share what we're doing globally with all your networks, and contribute your expertise to our technical working groups as well. Only that way can we make a difference globally. It's a non-political organisation. It's run purely by volunteers such as us. And if we don't do it, I can't see anybody else doing it. So please do participate in it. And I do hope that you will be able to participate in the events we're planning for 2025. We are slowly growing in our importance, in our collaboration and communications and awareness of fire safety. So please do participate.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I think this is the time. It's off, and it's now, and we have a whole year to do it. So, Gary.
Thank you very much. Thanks for travelling over here from a rather wet and windy London. I bid you farewell and safe travels. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.